everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Liberty Report. With me today is Daniel McAdams, our co-host. Daniel, good to see you.
This morning, Dr. Paul?
I'm doing good. I have another good story.
We've got a lot of good stories.
We're going to start.
Some good news.
The resistance is building.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about a church in L.A., of all places.
Yeah.
L.A. must still have some good people out there.
Yeah.
Big church, mega church. And they showed up without masks on, and they did not social distance.
Yeah.
And they had been warned. Guess what? Nothing happened.
Yeah.
Nobody got arrested. And then that led me into a daydream or a postulation and said to you, Daniel, what if all the churches got together someday? Everybody in the community or some kind and say, we're all going to have a Freedom Sunday and announce it. And everybody does it. But, you know, and of course the problem with that is there's a lot of people are still very, very scared. In spite of the statistics that we'll give a few more of today, the statistics are showing that this is not much of a pandemic or epidemic even right now. And it's not strange. It's not anything as bad as what we've gone through before. So hopefully people will become less scared. But it's a real tragedy I see when they're frightening kids. Kids are just really, even in our own family, some of the grandkids are getting a little worried because they don't understand it, and there'll be adults telling them two different things, and they watch television, and things will be such on television. But they had church, and they estimated between 6,000 and 7,000. That's a pretty good sized church, and the best we can tell, the police didn't show up.
Yeah.
What? You can go to church without the police?
Yeah.
You know, one thing I mentioned this the other day is when it was discussed that the churches couldn't be open because they weren't essential, but Walmart was.
Yeah.
So they went to Walmart and had their church service.
That was great. I saw that. Yeah.
So, but what is essential is liberty. Making free choices, not hurting people. So if you have an infectious disease and you're dangerous to other people, you shouldn't go to nursing homes, and you should follow some good common sense. When you listen to all these rules and regulation, a lot of it, you know, people say, well, this is just common sense. It is a lot of common sense, but why in a free country shouldn't the people be allowed to practice their own common sense and do their best? But when people deliberately do things to hurt other people, that's a different story. But this is good. It's happened. It may encourage others. I think it is disappointing that this extremism, where people couldn't act normally, really hit the churches, and the churches, are very intimidated. They don't want to look like they're lawbreakers and unpatriotic and all these things, so they've gone along with it. But it's based on the fact that those who pretend to be scientists have misled the people, and the people are intimidated and think the world is coming to an end. But the advantage we have in the last several weeks now is we've been able to find the statistics and show what the numbers and the charts are doing. We'll do a little bit more of that today. Some people say, it's over. So why don't we one of these days tell everybody, it's over, folks. Yeah. The pandemic's over. There's no epidemic, and there's something going on there, but it's no worse than the flu. Probably a lot less harmful than the flu. So relax and go back to normalcy. And I imagine if anybody at this church service, because somebody will be following them, they'll find out, somebody, ended up with coronavirus. You'll hear about it.
Oh, yeah.
But even that proves nothing, because if you were really in a pandemic and a serious problem, you'd have thousands of people. But right now, thousands of people are being eliminated. This pretend, monstrosity we have there. The number of deaths and the number of cases, all this, verify that the end of this serious problem is just about gone. And social distancing and mask, I don't believe for 1 minute has helped us get through this.
Nothing to do with it. Well, you're right. Just declare it over. It reminds me of the John Lennon song, "War is over if you want it." And that's, the pandemic is over if you want it. But this is, by the way, that's a great idea for Freedom Sunday. I wish churches would do that. It's sad as we drive about an hour to our church on Sunday, and I still see so many churches online services only. It's really tragic. But we're talking about Grace Community Church in Los Angeles. The pastor is John MacArthur, and I would say he is a hero for freedom because he's not going along with it. The rules say your maximum capacity is 100 people, or 50% of what it will hold. Well, 100 was the max for him, and they had 6,000. And of course, you read the write-up. We had something from the Hill. Oh, in the midst of this horrible pandemic, look at this monster and what he's doing. But I think Pastor MacArthur had the right idea. Here's a quote from him in the article. Quote, "We open the doors because that's what we are. We're a church, and we're going to trust people to make adult decisions about the reality of their physical and spiritual health and how that balance works for each one of them." And this is key. Nobody's forcing anything. They're here because they want to be here.
It's great.
Yeah.
Let's spread this message.
Yeah.
We'll do our best.
Yes.
It's a good message, and people need to be more using their common sense and not the propaganda that they claim is common sense. That's where the problem is. But there's another one that's worth looking at. This is out of Florida. You know, West Coast to East Coast.
Yeah.
Florida sheriff orders deputies not to wear masks, bans of civilians in masks from coming in. No mask.
Yeah.
No mask, no social distancing. And doesn't look like anybody's going to arrest this sheriff. So this again, people are getting tired of it. And I guess really people have to realize what's going on, that there's many thousands of people who are ducking the controls of this, but there are also many more that are just quietly doing their thing, and they think this is awful. And a lot of people are following the rules because why do I have to fight this thing? And I understand that feeling. Definitely. Why do we have to do this? So I think once it becomes popular, more popular than now, you're going to see a landslide in our direction and say, hey, this is over. They're right. The epidemic, it's over, and the numbers have been fudged. And now what we should be dealing with is, am I going to line up to take the vaccine? And that's another thing. That story's yet to be sold or explained. But that, unfortunately, the people who have been frightened and become fearful, they are wanting this vaccine, which I tell them right now, be cautious, don't be anxious. And the one thing is, if they're mandating it, you know there's something wrong with that. If you know about it and you study it and you say, well, I'm going to take it voluntarily, but this stuff of them shoving it into our skins and our body, very dangerous.
You know, it is like the Berlin Wall. The first guy to take his chisel and chisel at it, nobody knew what was going to happen to him. Is this guy going to get shot? What's going to happen? Then a couple of other people. You remember the video 30-some years ago. A couple of other people. And then pretty soon, it was a complete avalanche. Hundreds, thousands of people on the wall doing it. And that's what happens. That's how
I'm going to turn it off.
That's how this tyranny will fall.